Captain Alan Miller stood at the viewing window of the human ship Horizon, watching the massive space station grow larger against the backdrop of a bright blue star. His heart beat faster. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally found what they were looking for, proof they were not alone. "Captain, we're receiving docking instructions," said Communications Officer Susan Bell. Her voice was steady, but Alan could see the excitement in her eyes. "Thank you, Officer Bell." "Pilot Rogers, take us in nice and slow. Let's make a good first impression," Alan said. The Horizon moved carefully toward the giant ring-shaped station. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built in space. Lights of many colors blinked along its curved surface. Ships of strange designs moved around. Some as small as shuttles, others larger than the biggest Earth vessels. Alan smoothed down his uniform. After the first radio contact 3 weeks ago, the crew had practiced first contact procedures every day. Now the moment had arrived. Humanity would meet the Galactic Federation, an alliance of 17 different alien species who had been watching Earth for some time. "All stop. Docking complete," Pilot Rogers announced. Alan took a deep breath. "Senior officers with me. Lieutenant Lee, you have command of the ship." 6 humans walked through the airlock into the station. The air smelled different, clean but with a hint of something like cinnamon. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal. A group of strange beings waited for them. The aliens looked very different from each other. Some had 4 arms. Others floated above the ground. One group had skin that changed colors as they moved. But all of them watched the humans with the same look, curiosity mixed with something that might have been concern. A tall, thin being with pale blue skin stepped forward. "I am Tis Vorel of the Xenorians, Chief Diplomat of the Federation Council. Welcome to Central Station, humans of Earth." The words came through the translator devices the Federation had sent ahead. Alan nodded respectfully. "I am Captain Alan Miller of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We are honored to meet you and grateful for your welcome." The aliens led them through wide hallways filled with different species going about their business. The humans tried not to stare, but it was hard. They passed gardens with strange plants, shops selling items they couldn't begin to understand, and screens showing text in dozens of languages. Finally, they reached a large round room with a table in the center. Representatives from all 17 Federation species sat waiting. The humans were given seats at one end. A being that looked like a cross between a mantis and a deer stood up. "I am Archon Zixthral, head of the Federation Council. Today marks a historic moment, the addition of the 18th known sentient species to our shared knowledge. For the next hour, the aliens asked questions about Earth and human history. At first, the questions seemed normal, about governments, technology, and culture. But then the questions changed. "You say humans have permanent settlements on all 7 continents of your world?" asked a Vaspid, a being with 6 eyes and metallic skin. "Yes," replied Science Officer Diane Foster. "Even Antarctica has research stations where people live year-round." The aliens looked at each other. One made a sound like bells tinkling. "And your species regularly climbs to the tops of mountains? For recreation?" asked an Axelon whose body glowed with soft light. "Some of us do, yes," Alan said. "Mountain climbing is a popular sport." More looks passed between the aliens. "And you dive into your oceans, even though they contain predators?" asked Tisvorel. Alan nodded. "We explore everywhere we can on Earth. Deserts, oceans, mountains, caves, jungles. Humans have always pushed into unknown places." The room grew quiet. Then Archon Zixthral stood again. The being's antlers seemed to glow slightly. "Captain Miller, we have studied your species from a distance for some time. But hearing you confirm these things is still shocking to us," the Archon said. "You must understand something important about sentient life as we know it." The Archon pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing different planets. "This is Xenoria, homeworld of the Xenorians. They evolved in controlled garden environments with no large predators," the Archon explained. "This is Vaspis, where, The Vaspids created underground cities to avoid surface dangers before they developed advanced technology. More planets appeared, each with its own story. Some species were uplifted by older races. Others evolved in gentle environments. None had Earth's mix of beauty and danger. What you call conquering the wild is unique to humans, the Archon continued. No other known sentient species has done this. Most of us develop technology to shield ourselves from nature, not to help us face it directly. We survive by avoiding danger. Humans survive by confronting it. Alan looked at his fellow officers. They seemed as surprised as he felt. But surely other species explore, asked Diane. We explore space, yes. But even then we do so cautiously with many safety measures, said a floating jellyfish-like being. We do not climb mountains for fun. We do not swim with predators. We do not walk into deserts to see what is there. This explains much about your technology, added a small furry alien with large eyes. Your ships are not as advanced as ours, yet they are remarkably sturdy, built to endure rather than avoid problems. Archon Zixthral moved closer to the humans. Your planet is unusual. It has more different environments and more dangerous life forms than most worlds that produce sentient beings. This has made you different. The Archon's voice became softer. Some council members feared meeting humans. They worried that a species that conquers wilderness might want to conquer other beings too. We come in peace, Alan said quickly. Humans have fought wars, yes, but we've learned from our mistakes. We believe you, said Tisvoral. We have watched your transmissions. We see that humans can be violent but also kind, competitive but also cooperative, and above all, brave in ways we find hard to understand. Archon Zix Thrall made a gesture, and servants brought in cups filled with a clear liquid. Drink with, us humans of Earth. Today begins a new chapter in galactic history. You bring something the Federation has lacked, the courage to face the unknown directly. Perhaps there is much we can learn from each other. Alan took his cup and raised it in a toast. As he looked around at the strange beings who would now be humanity's partners among the stars, he felt both pride and humility. Humans were not the most advanced species. They were not the oldest or the wisest, but they had earned their place here through something special. The spirit that had driven them from caves to mountain peaks, from shores to ocean depths, and finally to the stars themselves. The spirit that made them the only species brave enough to conquer the wild. 6 months had passed since the first meeting between humans and the Galactic Federation. The Horizon had returned to Earth with news that changed humanity forever. People celebrated in the streets when they learned they were not alone in the universe. Scientists studied the data about alien species and technology. World leaders worked together to create a united human government to deal with the Federation. Lieutenant Kate Porter looked out the window of the transport ship as it approached the massive Federation station. Unlike the first contact team, she was not nervous. She was excited. Kate had grown up climbing mountains in Colorado. She had crossed the Pacific Ocean in a small boat. When they needed volunteers for the human delegation to the Federation's Exploration Summit, she had been one of the first to raise her hand. We're docking in 5 minutes, Lieutenant Porter, the pilot called. Kate nodded and checked her uniform one last time. She was responsible for leading the small human team to the summit. It was held once every 100 years, and humans were lucky to arrive in time to attend. Representatives from all Federation species would be there to share their discoveries and plan future missions. Remember, we are here to learn, not to show off. Admiral George Chambers told Kate and the 4 other humans in their group. The Admiral was Earth's official representative to the Federation and had been living on the station for 3 months. Some species are still not sure about humans. They think we are too wild, too unpredictable. Yes, sir, Kate said, but inside, she felt proud of human unpredictability. It had helped them survive on Earth and might help them among the stars too. The summit was held in a huge room with a ceiling that looked like the night sky. Hundreds of aliens from all 17 Federation species moved around, talking in groups. The humans entered and were given translator devices. Welcome, Earth delegation, said a tall Xenorian. "I am Speaker Nalvex. The summit will begin soon." For the first 2 days, the humans mostly listened. Different species talked about planets they had studied, new star systems they had mapped, and strange space objects they had found. The humans were impressed by the Federation's technology, but surprised by how careful they were. They never landed on planets with big storms. They never went close to unstable stars. They explored, but only when it was safe. On the 3rd day, the Axolons gave a presentation. They were one of the oldest species in the Federation, with skin that glowed and changed colors. "For the past 50 cycles, we have attempted to study the planet known as Nexus 9, said lead scientist Kelvex, showing a hologram of a blue-green world covered in swirling clouds. "It has valuable minerals and possibly important biological compounds, but it has resisted all our efforts." The Axolon explained that Nexus 9 had violent storms that damaged ships. Its oceans were full of chemicals that ate through normal protection suits. The ground often shook with powerful earthquakes. 3 Federation missions had tried to land there. All had ended badly, with damaged ships and injured crew members. "We must regretfully classify Nexus 9 as a Level 5 danger world," Kelvex concluded. "Too hostile for safe exploration with current methods." Kate listened with growing interest. The world sounded dangerous, yes, but not impossible. Earth had storms, acidic hot springs, and earthquakes too. Humans had learned to deal with these things. "Excuse me," Kate said, standing up before she could stop herself. "What if another approach was possible?" The room grew quiet. All alien eyes turned to look at her. "Lieutenant Porter," Admiral Chambers whispered in warning. But Kate continued, "Humans have experience with similar conditions on Earth. We have special suits for harsh chemicals. We have buildings that can survive earthquakes. We have ships that can fly through hurricanes." The aliens began talking all at once. Some sounded curious, others angry. "Are you suggesting," Kelvex asked, "that humans could explore Nexus 9? Kate realized what she had done. She had volunteered humanity for a mission that had defeated the Federation's best technology. But she didn't back down. "I think it's worth considering," she said. "With the right preparation and equipment, humans might succeed where others have struggled." Admiral Chambers looked unhappy, but he stood up beside Kate. "My colleague speaks with the enthusiasm of youth," he said smoothly. "But she raises an interesting point. Humans have evolved dealing with harsh environments. Our methods are different from yours." The room buzzed with conversation. The Xenorians looked worried. The Vaspid seemed curious. The Axolon's skin flashed with colors that might have been interest or anger. Finally, Archon Zix Thrall entered the room. The leader of the Federation Council had heard about the human suggestion. "This summit is about sharing knowledge," the Archon said. "Perhaps we should consider this unexpected proposal." For the next hour, there was heated debate. Many species thought humans were too new to the Federation, too untested. Others argued that their home planet's conditions made them uniquely qualified. The Axolons were most interested, asking detailed questions about Earth's storms and how humans studied dangerous environments. At last, the Archon raised a hand for silence. "The Council has reached a decision. We will accept the human offer, with conditions." Kate felt her heart beat faster. "First, the mission will include Axolon observers to document your methods," the Archon said. "Second, you must follow basic Federation safety protocols. Third, the results of this mission will help determine humanity's future role in Federation exploration." Admiral Chambers looked at Kate. "Do you understand what this means, Lieutenant? This is not just about Nexus 9. This is a test of humanity itself." Kate nodded. "Yes, sir. We won't let Earth down." As they left the summit room, alien representatives approached them. Some offered help or technical advice. Others seemed to be betting on whether humans would succeed or fail. The Axolons seemed very interested in this mission, Kate said to the Admiral as they walked back to their quarters. "Yes," Chambers replied thoughtfully. "Perhaps too interested. Nexus 9 must have something valuable if they've tried 3 times to explore it." "Do you think we've made a mistake?" Kate asked. The Admiral stopped and looked at her. Possibly, but making bold moves and then finding ways to back them up is a very human trait. We're going to need the best team Earth can provide. People who understand extreme environments and know how to survive when things go wrong. Kate looked out a window at the stars. Somewhere out there was a world no one had been able to explore. A world that might now be humanity's greatest challenge, or its greatest opportunity. "When do we start?" she asked. "We leave for Earth tomorrow," the Admiral said. "We have a team to build and a wilderness to conquer." News of the Nexus 9 mission spread quickly across Earth. Television shows ran special reports about it. People argued about it online. Some called it humanity's greatest opportunity. Others called it reckless and dangerous. "We shouldn't risk human lives on a planet that even aliens can't handle," said one world leader. "This is our chance to prove ourselves to the galaxy," said another. At Luna Base, Earth's main space station orbiting the moon, Colonel Frank Winters watched the debates with a calm expression. At 55 years old, Frank had silver hair and a weathered face. He had been chosen to lead the Nexus 9 mission because of his experience. 10 years earlier, when communications failed during his Antarctic expedition, Frank had led his team 500 miles across ice and snow to safety. He understood survival in harsh places better than anyone. "Colonel, the team members have arrived," said his assistant. Frank nodded. "Send them in." 6 people entered the room. They looked tired from their journey but stood straight when they saw Frank. Each had been selected because of special skills and experience with extreme environments on Earth. "Welcome to Luna Base," Frank said. "You know why you're here. The Federation thinks Nexus 9 is too dangerous to explore. We're going to prove them wrong. Let me hear what each of you brings to this mission." A woman with dark hair tied back in a ponytail stepped forward. "Dr. Lisa Rivera, climatologist. I've studied the worst storms on Earth, from hurricanes to dust storms. If Nexus 9 has violent weather, I'll help us predict it and survive it." Next was a tall man with strong hands and practical eyes. "Jack Prescott, Chief Engineer. I designed the habitats for Mars Colony 3. If we need to build something that can survive on Nexus 9, I'm your man." A shorter man with glasses spoke next. "Dr. Vincent Chang, Geologist. I've studied volcanoes and earthquakes on 5 continents. I can help us understand the planet's surface and avoid danger zones." A woman with short blonde hair and alert eyes introduced herself. "Olivia Garrison, Security Chief. I was a wilderness survival instructor for 10 years. I know how to keep people safe in dangerous places." "Maya Sullivan, Pilot," said a woman with dark skin and confident posture. "I've flown through sandstorms in the Sahara and blizzards in Alaska. I'll get us down to the surface and back up again, no matter what Nexus 9 throws at us." The last member was a man with kind eyes and steady hands. "Daniel Wright, Medical Officer. I specialize in environmental medicine. I've treated everything from altitude sickness to heat stroke to radiation exposure." Frank looked at them with approval. A good team. Different skills, different experiences, but you all have one thing in common. You've faced the wild places of Earth and survived. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing Nexus 9. "This is our target. Federation data shows storms that make Earth hurricanes look gentle, oceans with acid that can burn through metal, ground that shakes without warning." Maya whistled. "Sounds like Tuesday in Florida," she joked. The others laughed, breaking the tension. "The Axolons will be watching us," Frank continued. "They're sending observers led by their science director, Kelvex. They arrive tomorrow to see our preparations." Vincent looked worried. "Will they interfere with our methods?" Frank shook his head. "They can observe and advise, but this is our mission. We do it our way, the human way." For the next 2 weeks, the team trained together. They studied the limited Federation data about Nexus 9. They tested equipment and practiced emergency procedures. Each person brought ideas from their own experience on Earth. Lisa suggested using weather balloons like those used to study Earth storms. Jack designed shelters based on those used in earthquake zones. Olivia taught everyone survival skills from cultures that lived in extreme environments on Earth. The Axolon observers arrived as promised. Kelvex was tall with skin that glowed blue and green. 4 other Axolons came with him, all scientists interested in how humans would approach the mission. Your equipment seems primitive, Kelvex said after watching the humans train. Simple, not primitive, Jack corrected. Complex technology fails in complex ways. We want systems we can fix with the tools we'll have. Kelvex's skin flashed yellow, showing surprise. The Federation could provide you with advanced protection suits, force fields that block acid, sensors that predict earthquakes minutes before they happen. Frank considered this. What happened when your teams used that technology on Nexus 9? The force fields failed when multiple storm systems hit at once, Kelvex admitted. The sensors gave false readings near mineral deposits. The ships could not land safely in the high winds. Then we need different approaches, Frank said. We'll take some of your technology, but adapt it to work with our methods. The Axolons watched with growing interest as the humans prepared. Instead of relying only on sensors to predict weather, Lisa also studied cloud patterns and air pressure changes. Instead of using force fields alone for protection, Jack designed layered shelters with flexible joints that could bend instead of break during earthquakes. You use technology and instinct together, Kelvex observed one day. Humans have always been tool users, Frank explained. But tools can break. When they do, we need to rely on our experience and training. As the launch date grew closer, Earth's public became more divided. Some protesters even came to Luna Base. The Federation is using us as test subjects, one shouted. They send humans to die where their technology failed. Frank met with Admiral Chambers to discuss the concerns. There's truth in what they say, the Admiral admitted. The Axolons are very interested in Nexus 9. They've tried 3 times to explore it. Why? You think they're hiding something? Frank asked. I think there's more to this mission than we know, the Admiral said. Be careful, Frank. Complete the mission, but keep your eyes open. On the final night before launch, Frank found his team gathered in the observation room, looking at Earth below them. Tomorrow, they would board the special ship named Pathfinder and begin their journey to Nexus 9. Having second thoughts, he asked them. Just thinking about what we're doing, Lisa said. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors left safe valleys to cross mountains. They built boats to cross oceans. They walked into deserts and jungles not knowing what they would find. And now we're going to a planet that even advanced aliens think is too wild to explore, Vincent added. We're doing what humans have always done, Olivia said firmly. Facing the unknown, conquering the wild. Frank nodded. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, we make history. As the team left, Kelvex entered the room. The Axolon's skin glowed softly in the dim light. Your people truly are different, the alien said. Most species in the Federation would refuse this mission. Even with our technology, they would say the risk is too great. What about your people? Frank asked. You tried 3 times. Kelvex was quiet for a moment. We tried because we had to. Nexus 9 holds secrets that could be important to the galaxy. But we failed because we tried to overcome the planet with technology alone. And you think we can succeed where you failed? Frank asked. I think, Kelvex said, that tomorrow I will learn if humans truly are the only species brave enough to conquer the wild. The ship named Pathfinder left Earth's solar system through a special Federation jump point. In normal space, the journey to Nexus 9 would take years. With Federation technology, it took 3 weeks. Frank and his team used this time to prepare. They studied Federation data about the planet and trained with the special equipment they had brought. The Axolons watched them with growing interest. Your species exercises even inside a ship? Kelvex asked one day, watching Maya and Olivia run laps around the cargo bay. We need to stay strong, Olivia explained between breaths. Our bodies get weaker in space. On a dangerous planet, we can't afford to be weak. As they got closer to Nexus 9, Lisa spent hours studying the weather data. The storms are like nothing on Earth, she told the others. They can appear in minutes, not hours, and they're much stronger. Jack worked with Vincent to finish the shelters they would use. On the surface, they were made of special materials that could bend without breaking and resist the acid in the planet's rain. The Federation's shelters were too rigid, Jack explained to Frank. They broke when the ground shook. Ours will bend and then return to shape, like trees in a storm. Daniel prepared medical supplies for every possible emergency. He created special treatments for acid burns and breathing problems that might happen in Nexus 9's strange air. At last, the ship reached the Nexus 9 system. From space, the planet looked beautiful. It was mostly blue with swirling white clouds and patches of green land. But looks could be deceiving. Sensors show 5 major storm systems, Maya reported from the pilot's seat. Winds at over 200 miles per hour. Acid levels in the clouds are very high. Frank looked at Kelvex. Your previous missions tried to land during calm periods. That was their first mistake. There are no calm periods on Nexus 9, the Axelon said. Exactly. So we won't wait for one. We'll go straight through the storms, but in a smart way. Frank turned to Maya. Find us a path between the major systems. We'll ride the edge of a storm instead of fighting through the middle. Maya studied the weather patterns carefully. I see a possible path. It won't be smooth, but I think the ship can handle it. Then take us in, Frank ordered. The Pathfinder entered the atmosphere of Nexus 9. Immediately, the ship began to shake as strong. Winds hit it from all sides. Warning lights flashed on Maya's control panel. Automated landing systems failing, she reported calmly. Switching to manual control. The Axelons looked alarmed. Manual landings were almost never done in the Federation. Their technology was supposed to make such dangerous methods unnecessary. Trust her, Frank told them. Maya can feel the ship's movements in a way computers can't. Maya's hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting their descent as the ship bucked and shuddered. When a sudden gust pushed them sideways, she didn't fight it directly. Instead, she used the momentum to slide between 2 storm cells. Landing. Zone in sight, she announced. It's not ideal, but it's the best we'll find. Below them was a valley between tall mountains. The mountains provided some protection from the worst winds. Vincent had chosen this spot based on geological data, guessing it would be more stable than other areas. Taking us down, Maya said. Her face was covered in sweat, but her hands were steady. The landing was rough. Everyone was thrown against their safety straps as the ship hit the ground. For a moment, there was silence. Then the systems began to report their status. Ship is intact, Jack confirmed. Some damage to the outer hull, but nothing critical. Frank looked at the Axelons. Their skin was flashing with colors that might have been fear or excitement. Phase 1 complete. We've done what 3 previous missions could not. We've landed on Nexus 9. Outside the ship, the alien world waited. The air was thick with strange gases that gave the sky a greenish color. Acid rain fell in some areas, sizzling where it hit the ground. The ground itself seemed to pulse gently, as if the planet were breathing. Initial base setup begins now, Frank ordered. Jack, Lisa, Olivia. You're on the first team out. Full protective gear. The 3 humans put on their special suits. These were not the elegant ones used by the Federation. They were bulkier, but had multiple layers of protection. If one layer failed, the others would still work. Be careful out there, Daniel told them as they prepared to exit the ship. Frank watched on the monitors as his team stepped onto the surface of Nexus 9. They moved carefully, testing the ground with each step. Lisa set up weather sensors while Jack began to assess where they should build their main shelter. Olivia kept watch for any dangers. The ground is more stable than expected, Jack reported over the radio. But I can feel small tremors. We should set up at least 50 yards from the ship, on that raised area. For the next 6 hours, the humans worked to establish their base camp. The Axelons watched in amazement as the team dealt with problems as they arose. When acid rain began to fall, they didn't retreat to the ship. Instead, they covered their equipment and continued working in their protective suits. When the ground shook violently without warning, they didn't panic. Vincent used the patterns of the shaking to predict where the next tremors would be weakest, and they moved their equipment there. By nightfall, they had set up a main shelter connected to the ship by a covered walkway. Inside the shelter, they could remove their protective gear in a safe environment. First day on Nexus 9 complete, Frank said when they gathered for a meal. What have we learned? The storms are following patterns, Lisa reported. Different from Earth, but still patterns. I think I can predict them with about 70% accuracy now. The ground tremors are not random, Vincent added. This isn't normal tectonic activity, something else is causing it. What do you mean? Frank asked. Vincent looked excited. I found unusual energy readings, and some of the rock formations don't look natural. I think there might have been structures here once, very old ones. The room went quiet. Even the axolon stopped eating. Are you suggesting this planet was inhabited? Frank asked carefully. I need more data, Vincent said. But yes, that's my theory. Kelvex's skin flashed with rapid colors. The axolon whispered something to one of the other observers. Frank caught Maya's eye. She had noticed too. The axolon seemed unsurprised by Vincent's discovery, almost as if they had expected it. Tomorrow we start full exploration, Frank announced. We've proven we can land and survive here. Now let's find out what makes Nexus 9 so special. That night, as the others slept, Frank looked at the data Vincent had collected. The patterns of energy beneath the surface were too regular to be natural, and some of the rock formations did look like they might once have been buildings, worn down by countless years of acid rain and violent storms. Outside, the alien world roared with wind and rain. But for the first time, Frank wondered if Nexus 9's greatest secrets weren't in its wild nature but in its hidden past. 3 months passed on Nexus 9. The human team had not just survived on the hostile planet, they had thrived. Their base camp had grown into a small research station with multiple shelters connected by covered walkways. Equipment for studying the planet's weather, geology, and strange life forms filled the shelters. Most importantly, they had made a discovery that changed everything. Vincent had been right. Beneath the violent surface of Nexus 9 were the ruins of an ancient civilization. The team called them the Builders. They must have lived here thousands of years ago, Vincent explained as the team gathered to discuss their findings. Before the planet became so unstable. Or maybe they caused the instability, Lisa suggested. The weather patterns are too regular for a natural system. I think someone designed it this way. Frank looked at the axolons, who had been unusually quiet since the discovery of the ruins. Did you know about this before we came? Kelvex's skin flashed with colors that the humans had learned meant discomfort. We suspected. The Federation has legends of an ancient race called the Precursors who vanished long ago. Some believed Nexus 9 might have been one of their worlds, but we could never stay long enough to confirm it. So you sent us, Frank said. It wasn't a question. We hoped humans might succeed where we failed, Kelvex admitted. Your species has shown remarkable ability to adapt to harsh conditions. Jack had been studying the builder technology they found in the deepest ruins. Their machines still work after thousands of years, he said with admiration. They built to last. Frank's comm unit beeped urgently. Colonel, you need to see this. Maya's voice came through. She was in the control room monitoring the planet's conditions. Frank hurried to the control room with the others following. Maya pointed to the weather screens. The storms are getting worse, much worse, and the ground tremors are increasing too. Lisa checked the data and looked alarmed. This is bad. The whole planet is becoming more unstable. At this rate, we have maybe 2 days before conditions become too extreme even for our equipment. We need to evacuate, Frank decided. Maya, start preparing the ship. Jack, begin shutdown procedures for the base. Olivia, who had been out with a team at a newly discovered ruin site, called in on the radio. Colonel, we've found something. Big. Some kind of central control room. There are machines still running down here. Frank hesitated. They needed to leave, but this could be important. How far are you from base? About 5 miles east in the canyon system, Olivia reported. The entrance is hidden. We only found it because a tremor opened up the rock face. Hold position, I'm coming to you, Frank decided. Vincent, Daniel, with me. The rest of you prepare for evacuation. The 3 men put on their protective suits and took a rover to Olivia's position. Outside, the planet was in chaos. Lightning flashed constantly in the green-black sky. Acid rain fell in sheets, hissing against their vehicle's protective covering. The ground shook so hard that twice they had to stop and wait for the tremors to pass. When they reached the canyon, Olivia led them into a narrow opening in the rock. Inside, they found themselves in a large chamber filled with machines unlike anything they had seen before. Lights still glowed on control panels. Strange symbols covered the walls. Jack would love this, Daniel said, looking around in wonder. Vincent was already scanning the equipment with his instruments. These are similar to the patterns we found under the base camp, but much stronger. I think this is some kind of central control system for the entire planet. Can you figure out what it does? Frank asked. Vincent studied the controls. I think it might be a weather control system. The builders must have used it to make the planet livable, but something went wrong. Frank's radio crackled. Colonel, conditions are deteriorating faster than predicted, Maya reported. The ship's outer hull is taking damage from the acid rain. We need to leave within 12 hours, or we risk being stranded. Frank looked at the ancient machines. If this is a control system, can we use it to stabilize the planet long enough for us to leave safely? Maybe, Vincent said. But we'd need to understand how it works first. Suddenly, Kelvex spoke from behind them. The Axelon had followed them despite the dangers. I can help. The Axelons have studied precursor technology for centuries. Working together, Vincent and Kelvex began to decipher the control system. They discovered that the planet had indeed been terraformed by the builders to be habitable, but over thousands of years the system had begun to fail, making the planet increasingly hostile. We can't fix it completely, Kelvex explained, but we might be able to temporarily stabilize the weather long enough for a safe departure. What would it take? Frank asked. We need to place calibration devices at 4 points around the planet, then activate them simultaneously, Kelvex said. It would create a window of calm weather lasting about 6 hours. That's cutting it close for evacuation, Frank said. It's also extremely dangerous, Kelvex added. These points are in some of the most unstable regions of Nexus 9. My people would consider it a suicide mission. Frank looked at his team. No one spoke, but he could see determination in their eyes. Humans have been doing the impossible since we climbed down from trees, he said. Let's get to work. They divided into 4 teams, each with a calibration device. Maya would take one to the northern mountains. Olivia and Daniel would head to the acid lakes in the west. Jack and Lisa would go to the southern islands. Frank and Vincent would take the eastern canyons. The Axelons would stay at the control center to coordinate. The next 12 hours were the most challenging of their mission. Each team faced the full fury of Nexus 9 as they struggled to reach their positions. Storms with winds over 300 miles per hour threatened to throw them off course. Acid rain burned through the outer layers of their protective suits. The ground shook so violently that crevasses opened without warning. Maya's rover flipped over halfway to her destination. She continued on foot, carrying the heavy calibration device through a blizzard of caustic ice crystals. Jack and Lisa had to build a makeshift boat when flooding destroyed their planned land route. Olivia and Daniel were nearly lost when a sinkhole swallowed their position, forcing them to climb out using emergency equipment. Despite the obstacles, each team reached their position. They placed the calibration devices according to Kelvex's instructions and prepared to activate them. Everyone, in position? Frank asked over the radio. One by one, the teams confirmed they were ready. Activate on my mark, Frank ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. 4 humans pressed the activation switches simultaneously. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse of energy shot from each device toward the control center. The ground shook one final time, then became still. The howling winds began to die down. The acid rain stopped. It's working, Vincent exclaimed. The planet is stabilizing. All teams return to the ship immediately, Frank ordered. We have 6 hours before the effect ends. The journey back was much easier in the calm conditions. One by one, the teams returned to the Pathfinder and prepared for departure. As they made final checks, Kelvex approached Frank. You have accomplished something remarkable, the Axelon said. Not just surviving on Nexus 9, but understanding its secrets. My people will study what you found for centuries. Will you try to fully repair the system? Frank asked. Make the planet livable again? Perhaps someday, Kelvec said. But that would require more of what your species has shown us. Not just technology, but courage to face the wild. The Pathfinder lifted off smoothly under Maya's skilled hands. As they rose through the atmosphere, they could see the calm spreading across the planet like a gentle wave. But at the edges, the storms were already beginning to form again. They had escaped just in time. 3 weeks later, the Pathfinder returned to Federation space. News of their success had traveled ahead of them. Ships from all 17 Federation species were waiting to greet them. The humans had proven themselves in the most difficult test imaginable. In a formal ceremony aboard the Federation's central station, Archon Zix Thrall addressed representatives from all species. For too long, the Federation has explored the galaxy from a safe distance. Humans have reminded us that true exploration requires more than technology. It requires the spirit to face the unknown, to conquer the wild. The Archon turned to Frank and his team. The precursors left their greatest secrets on worlds that would test not just our minds, but our courage. Perhaps that is why humans have succeeded where others failed. You carry within you the ancient drive to push beyond safety, to discover what lies beyond the next mountain, the next ocean, the next star. Captain Kate Porter, who had started it all with her impulsive suggestion at the Exploration Summit, stood beside Admiral Chambers watching the ceremony. What happens now? She asked quietly. The Admiral smiled. The Federation has already asked for human advisors on 20 new exploration missions, all to worlds previously considered too dangerous. Kate looked out at the stars visible through the station's viewing window. Humanity had proven itself among the galactic community not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but through the same spirit that had driven their ancestors to climb mountains, cross oceans, and venture into deserts. They were the species that conquered the wild, and the galaxy would never be the same because of it.